Welcome to Life Lesson Story, where real stories remind us what truly matters. If you believe every choice shapes who we become. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of this journey. At 62, Richard Cole had everything people respected: a corner office, a reputation built over decades, a name that carried weight in every room he entered. From the outside, his life looked complete, but there was one thing he didn't have anymore: someone who remembered who he used to be, someone who had seen him before the success, before the compromises. It traced back 30 years, to a single decision, quiet, calculated, a moment where ambition spoke louder than loyalty. And while it gave him everything he thought he wanted, but it took away the one thing he never realized he'd miss the most. At first, nothing seemed different. They still grabbed coffee in the mornings, still joked about the long hours, still talked about where they'd be in 10 years, but underneath it all, something had shifted, unspoken, uncomfortable. Richard started noticing things he hadn't before: how often Daniel's ideas were praised, how easily people trusted his judgment, how naturally he led a room. It wasn't jealousy, at least not at first. It was comparison, and comparison has a way of turning admiration into quiet insecurity. Then came the meetings, private conversations, closed doors, subtle questions from upper management. Who do you think is more ready? Who can handle pressure better? Richard answered carefully, at least that's what he told himself, but each answer leaned slightly, and with every word, the line between honesty and ambition blurred. Because deep down, Richard had started to believe something dangerous: that there wasn't room for both of them to win, and if one had to fall, it wasn't going to be him. The air between them changed almost instantly, not with shouting, not with confrontation. Daniel stopped staying late, stopped sharing ideas, stopped looking at Richard the same way. It wasn't anger that showed first, it was silence, and somehow, that felt worse. A few days later, Daniel finally spoke, not in a meeting, not in public, just the two of them, alone. I heard something, he said quietly. Richard felt it before he understood it, a tightening in his chest, a moment he couldn't walk away from. Daniel held his gaze. Did you say I wasn't ready? Richard hesitated, just for a second, but that second said everything. Daniel nodded slowly, not surprised, just confirmed. I would have stood up for you, he said, and you made sure I didn't even get the chance. Richard opened his mouth to explain, to justify, to soften it, but nothing came out, because for the first time, he saw it clearly, not as strategy, not as business, but as betrayal. At first, Richard told himself it was necessary, that this was how the world worked, that tough decisions separated those who succeeded from those who didn't. He stepped into his new role with confidence: bigger office, higher salary, more respect, and for a while, it felt like he had made the right choice. People congratulated him, shook his hand, called him deserving, and he believed them, or at least, he tried to. But success has a quiet side no one talks about: the moments after the meetings end, the silence after the praise fades. That's when it crept in, a thought he couldn't ignore. He had no one to share it with, no one who remembered the nights they started from nothing, no one who understood what this moment was supposed to mean, because the one person who would have was gone, not by circumstance, but by his choice. And slowly, almost without noticing, the victory began to feel different, like something important had been left behind, and couldn't be taken back. Years passed, then decades. Richard built a life that looked undeniable from the outside: awards on the wall, photos with executives, a calendar filled months in advance. He became the kind of man people listened to, the kind of man others wanted to be, and somewhere along the way, he got very good at not looking back. Whenever Daniel's name surfaced in his mind, he pushed it aside, replaced it with meetings, deadlines, another goal to chase, because thinking about it changed nothing, or so he told himself. But memory has a way of waiting. It doesn't disappear, it settles, quietly, patiently, until something small brings it back. A familiar joke someone else tells. But not quite the same. A moment of success that feels strangely quiet, or a question no one else knows how to answer, except the person who's no longer there. And in those moments, Richard would feel it again, not guilt. Exactly, not regret he could name, just a quiet awareness that the life he built had a missing piece, one that success could never replace. Richard didn't respond right away. He nodded, said something polite, then walked back to his office like nothing had changed. But everything had. He sat at his desk, staring at nothing in particular. The emails kept coming, meetings still filled his calendar, his phone buzzed with the usual urgency, but for the first time in years, none of it felt important. One sentence kept repeating in his mind. He's not doing well, not he moved on, not he succeeded somewhere else, but this, fragile, final, and suddenly. Time didn't feel endless anymore. Richard opened an old drawer, one he hadn't touched in years. Inside, a photo, two younger men, laughing, arms slung over each other's shoulders. Before everything changed, he stared at it longer than he expected, then leaned back in his chair, because for the first time in 30 years, he wasn't thinking about what he had gained, he was thinking about what it had cost him, and whether it was already too late to face it. It took Richard longer than he expected to walk through that door, not because he didn't know where to go, but because he wasn't sure he deserved to. Days passed, then weeks. Excuses came easily, work, timing, distance, but none of them were true. The truth was simpler. He was afraid of what he would see, afraid of what he would feel, afraid of facing a version of himself he had avoided for 30 years. But eventually, he went. The hospital room was quiet, machines hummed softly, time felt slower there. Daniel lay in the bed, older, thinner, weaker, but still, unmistakably him. For a moment, Richard stayed at the door, watching, as if stepping inside would make everything real, as if crossing that line meant he could no longer pretend the past didn't matter. Then Daniel opened his eyes, and saw him. No surprise, no confusion, just a long, steady look. Like he had been expecting this moment, even if Richard hadn't. Silence settled between them, not awkward, not rushed, just heavy with everything that had never been said. Richard finally spoke. I've replayed that day more times than I can count. Daniel didn't interrupt, didn't react, just listened. I told myself it was business, Richard continued, that it was part of the job, part of getting ahead. He shook his head slightly, but it wasn't. It was fear, he said. Daniel's eyes stayed on him. Fear of what? Richard exhaled. Of not being enough. If I didn't win. The words hung there, simple, unprotected, for a moment. Neither of them moved. Then Daniel spoke, quietly. You didn't just win. Richard looked up, and Daniel held his gaze. You made sure I lost. No anger, no accusation, just truth. Clear, steady, and impossible to argue with. I'm sorry, Richard said. No explanation this time, no attempt to soften it, no words to protect himself, just the truth, plain and overdue. Daniel watched him in silence, not judging, not interrupting, just taking it in. You know, he said slowly, I was angry. For a long time. Richard nodded. Almost instinctively, I figured. Daniel glanced down for a moment, then back up, but not anymore. Richard's expression shifted, a quiet confusion. Why? Daniel let out a small breath. Something between a sigh and a release, because holding on to it didn't give me my life back. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Years of it. I forgave you a long time ago. He added. Richard felt something loosen in his chest. Something he hadn't realized he'd been carrying for decades. Relief, but not comfort, because Daniel wasn't finished. But that doesn't mean things go back, he said gently. No resentment, just honesty. Richard nodded. I know. And for once, He truly did. Richard didn't get his friend back, not the way it used to be. No shared jokes, no rebuilding what was lost, but he got something else: honesty, and a truth he couldn't ignore. Success gained at the cost of loyalty always comes with a price, and sometimes you don't feel it until it's far too late. If this story made you think, don't forget to subscribe to Life Lessons Story and share your thoughts below. Is success still worth it if you lose the people who believed in you first?